Hello and welcome to Prairie Pulse. Coming up later in the show, we'll hear a music performance from Singleton Street. But first, Matt O'Lean talks with North Dakota Farmers Union President Mark Watney.
And I am here with Mark Watney, President of the North Dakota Farmers Union. Mark, welcome.
Morning.
First of all, tell folks a little bit about yourself, your background, where you're from originally, and how you got involved in the Farm Bureau.
Well, I'm a farmer.
Farmers Union, sorry.
Yeah, excuse me. I'm a farmer from Belleville, North Dakota. I pretty much lived there all my life. Started in the Farmers Union by becoming on the county board and becoming a member. Served as the vice president of the county for a while, and then took over as president of McHenry County Farmers Union. Once I got involved, I found a lot of people that think a lot like I do, so I decided that it was time to further step up and actually ran for the state board, which there's 9 members on that state board, and was successful. And that got me really intrigued, so I served my terms there and actually did some contract work for the organization with young producer programs and so forth. And about 3 years ago, I decided that I would want to make a run for the presidency, as a lot of people had asked me to do that. So I did, and very successful, and I'm just honored to be able to serve the organization of a group of people and members that really believe in keeping rural America strong and agricultural strong.
And what is the North Dakota Farmers Union? What are the mission? What does it do?
We're a general farm organization. We're, and some call us an educational organization, which we really are. But through legislation, education, cooperation, we try to enhance family farm agriculture in rural communities. And we do youth programs, we do adult education programs, we obviously do advocacy work, and we do a fair amount of work with developing new concepts, new ideas, and so forth.
Mm-hmm. When was it founded? How old is the
Farmers
Union?
We're 80 years this year, so back in '37 in North Dakota, and then of course it was in the early 1900s in Point, Texas with National Farmers Union.
And how many members do you have?
We're sitting at about 47,500 members currently.
Oh.
And that's thanks to, we do collect by cash, we do some checkoffs through our insurance company, and then our Farmers Union affiliated cooperatives do checkoff dues for us. And that's one of the tools that makes us real successful in maintaining a large membership base.
And what's, just so the public knows, what's the difference between the Farmers Union and the North Dakota Farm Bureau? I know there's a lot of organizations out there, but kind of walk us through that too.
Well, you know, this is always confusing for people because they like to classify us in 2 different things. But really, it's 2 different mindsets on a lot of issues, but there's a lot of similarities. Both of us are trying to enhance farm income. Both of us want to support rural communities and so forth. We tend to want to get there in a different route. We believe that, you know, we'd love higher commodity prices. While we know that we can't always have them, we need some government support. Mm-hmm. We understand there's a certain amount of stewardship that has to be done on the land. And we respect that the nation expects us to take care of that land and so forth. The Farm Bureau is a good organization and do a lot of the same things we do, and we agree on a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, there's been a lot of debate over the years. We'll get into the next Farm Bill about government programs and subsidies and disaster relief. The Farmers Union is in favor of all that for the most part, right?
Oh, definitely, yeah. And we work really hard to establish a baseline. And again, it's really about a national security issue. And I always talk in the light of, you know, next to air and water, food is pretty essential. And sometimes we take that for granted. And really the reason for a farm program is to keep an adequate surplus of food. Now that surplus of food from a farmer's perspective is a negative because it drives our prices down. So we're in a kind of a vicious cycle where we overproduce, makes the country strong, and it costs us a price. So we need to balance that, and that's the reason you need types of a farm program and so forth.
So what's going on right now, Mark? Commodity prices are really bad. It doesn't seem like there's light at the end of the tunnel. What got us into this mess from only a couple years ago when income was pretty good?
Yeah, well, we're so good. We're really, really good at production. And I've actually did some work, and we're starting to write some information about how we got to look at this. And when you have full production, the farmer will almost always, because there's a large number of them out there, will shoot for the highest yields. And they're rewarded for that. And they're rewarded through their crop insurance programs. They're rewarded at the marketplace because they have more to sell. And that's their only tool they have to offset increased costs. So even though I may say, geez, maybe I shouldn't produce so much, I could get the price up. My neighbor decides to produce more, we can't fix it. And nobody nobody adds another meal because the price of food is lower. So it's not like a rebate on a car where you bring the price down and people start to consume more. So we really got to think through this. It's one of those things where we're balancing the food security on the backs of farmers at low prices. So we got to think about how we can make programs match supply better, and then we got to understand that the country needs to pay for that excess supply that keeps their food costs cheap.
And what's the way out of this, Mark? I mean, is this going to take federal legislation? Is there talk of target pricing, which used to be something, or let the free market handle it? I mean, combination. What's going to go on at the national level here?
Well, there's first of all 2 ways out. One is the Mother Nature tends to fix this because there will be problems someplace for production. And then, of course, we do have some growing demand. But it does take the federal government. They need to look at this, and they need to find tools that balance out that supply. Our demand is growing, but supply isn't growing quite as fast. And I think we set these so-called new thresholds, so anytime we have an additional bushel of production, we tend to drive it down. So we got to make sure the marketplace is fair. We got to bring some equity. We got to have oversight in the market. We got to be working harder to make sure the trade agreements truly represent production agriculture. There's currency manipulation out there. There's a lot of labor laws that are inadequate where it's making some countries substantially more competitive than we can be in some respects. So I think if we start to balance that worldwide, there's enough demand worldwide for food that we could make this work.
Are there farmers struggling right now in North Dakota?
Oh, definitely. Fortunately, in most parts of the state, we had a big crop. And now that's, again, the short-term fix, but it causes long-term problems. But no, even some of the guys with the good crops are struggling with the price. We have some pockets in the state that were dry. We have some excess moisture where we have some disease issues and so forth. So we're going to have some struggling farms, and banks are going to be looking at this pretty seriously.
You talk about, federal legislation. We'll get into the next farm bill, which comes up in 2018. Is there what's the Farmers Union's thought on the change in administration here from Obama to Trump? Or is it too early to tell what might go on with Congress? I know we have good advocates with the senators, Heitkamp and Hoeven, and Colin Peterson in Minnesota, of course, but what's the view on this, or is it a wait and see attitude?
Well, I think a little bit of wait and see, but we heard some good news, at least if the news stays. The RFS is important to us because that's really what drove the price. When we raised the price of corn up and the use of ethanol up, we were able to raise all the commodity prices up. So that created that demand that's necessary when we have this great production. So we really need that, and the talk is that they're going to continue to support the RFS. Now that's a wait and see thing. We did hear that we have an Ag Secretary nominee this morning, and that's Perdue out of Georgia, which is a good thing. But I think we got to really push for a little bit higher support levels closer to cost of production. We can't have, like the ARC program is a declining program. When prices are low, it slowly comes down 10% on the support level. We need a little bit more reflection on what the cost of production is. And we need some more competition in our supply chain. We're real worried about the Bayer-Monsanto merger. I get really concerned when I trade research dollars for farmers in some respect, because when you monopolize an industry, they'll recover those research dollars that was promised to them by charging the farmer more, and the farmer has no way to pass that on. So we're very concerned about that. So we're really trying to get trade representatives that represent the farmer, because the farmer tends to be the one sacrificed in a trade agreement. And we're looking at somebody that understands that there's a value in keeping a number of farms on the land.
And trade became kind of an issue in this presidential campaign. So what do you think about that? A lot of talk about NAFTA, that it was a bad deal. Your thoughts on that?
Well, we were quite pleased to have it forefront, because typically trade is saying, well, obviously you got to trade, that's always a good thing. Well, we just did an examination with NDSU through the CAP Center, which is the Center on Ag Policy Trade, and it really shows one of the bilateral agreements is, again, negative for producers and processors. CAFTA is a little bit negative for producers. NAFTA has some benefit. Now, from a wheat farmer in North Dakota or a beef or cattle rancher in North Dakota, we didn't see the benefit of NAFTA because those products are brought in. But if you were a wine grower or some type of a finished vegetable or whatever you're able to ship into Canada, you had a benefit. So North Dakota has not did as well with trade as people want to admit. But it's such an obvious that you say, well, obviously we trade, we got to sell product, it should be good. Again, that's back to that negotiation. So maybe because we had the attention from both parties, because both parties were talking, we got to do something with trade, maybe we'll get a little bit more dialogue on that and the farmer will be in the room.
Do you find when you go to Washington or people go to Washington, it's not so much educating the Congress people from North Dakota and Minnesota and Iowa, it's the coasts, wondering realizing how important farming is. Do you find that out there?
It is true. It is an education process. And the big challenge is always getting them to connect the dots. And they tend to, but as we get more people removed from the farm, there's less of that background information. I think it's so important that we keep the supplemental nutrition program tied to the Farm Bill. Without that, we would not be able to garner enough votes to pass the Farm Bill. So there's things we have to do, and I know farmers out here get real frustrated when we seem like we cave in on certain things that have to be tied to the Farm Bill, but those are to get votes. And when the population of rural America is down like it is in comparison and where the representation is down, sometimes we have to give a little to get a little.
I know the North Dakota economy has been diversified over the years, but how important is agriculture still to this state?
It's the mainstay. I mean, I would never downplay what oil did there for a short period of time, and those prices will come back. But when it really comes back to it, when farming is good and ranching is good, mainstream businesses do good, the state does good, the tax collections are up. We can't rely solely on oil to recover all that, so we need agriculture to be strong, and it's going to remain there. I mean, from sugar to wheat to soybeans to whatever you want to put out there, it really drives our economy.
Tell me about some of the programs that your group has for farmers and young farmers and people out there, members.
Yeah, we just got done Monday and Tuesday with a big program on precision agriculture. It's our 6th year, and we had somewhere over 250 young people in the room listening in on that. That's really been a great program for the young producers. We have the Next Generation Leadership Program we're doing now, where we're bringing about 25 people in, trying to start that transition, because we have a lot of folks that have been in our organization a long time and we need young people to replace them. We have a Tomorrow's Ag Generation program where we do simple education. It can be marketing or whatever. There's just a number of educational programs. Our youth program, we had 1,000 kids go to camp where we teach leadership, and we teach how to be part of the community, and they actually run a cooperative store so they can learn how to come together with a cooperative. We now have restaurants in Washington, D.C. where we have our 5th one open. We're serving 40,000 people a week in 5 restaurants right now, and they're all getting that little subtle message of this food is from U.S. Family Farms. And that's a message about that education component that we're doing through the marketplace. We do rendering facilities. We have a cat litter plant. We have cat food plants. Surprisingly, we do hog slaughtering for the odds. The big plants like the exact 220 to 240, so we pick up the high and the low, and we sell that at a premium, and we buy at a less product. Again, it's providing a service for those people raising hogs down in Iowa that don't have an opportunity to sell into the regular market or the so-called commercial market. So we do a lot of those little things and so forth to try and establish an avenue to help that farmer with some of the things that don't traditionally get taken care of through the market system that's out there right now.
Does the current legislative session going on in Bismarck have any impact much on farmers, or is it basically a federal?
You know, it does have some. It's less, obviously, than the federal government. They're looking at some changes for the PSC on regulation of our grain buyer system, of the elevator system. And we're a little worried because farmers need that protection. They need something to backdrop that elevator if there's a solvency issue. And we're a little worried about some of the inspections and some of that. That's all coming with budget cuts and so forth. So we're quite concerned about having enough dollars to back up if an elevator goes non-solvent. And we're fighting that. There's some talk on raising the amount that trucks can haul on interstates and on some of the state highways. There's little things about property taxes, and that's a big issue for farmers. I mean, people don't understand, but even when you don't have kids in school, you continue to support that infrastructure with your property taxes. And we like to see balance with sales tax, income tax, and property taxes. And right now, the property taxes are a little high. It's skewed a little bit higher than those others. So that's a big balancing factor. So there's a lot of little issues at the legislature that do impact, but it's not as big as the federal farm program.
How has farming changed since you got involved, and what is your operation like up by Velva?
Well, we're probably 2-3 big changes. The first one is we went to a minimum till program where it's pretty much a one-pass operation. We seed and apply fertilizer and the products we need all in one pass. That we've been doing for quite a few years. Then we adopted basically the hands-free steering, or the GPS. And you still turn at the end, but and turn the switches on. But even some of that's going away, where the planter recognizes when to turn on the seed and the fertilizer and so forth. So we're doing that. The last thing now, and this is we haven't adopted real well, but as part of this precision ag, is we're starting to map and track everything, our yields and our soil types and stuff. So we're building a database. I wish we were doing better at it, because we need the years, because it's coming that we'll be able to stack maps on each other, and we'll be able to do more precise application of seed, fertilizer, and products to protect the plant. So we're in the early stages of that, but we're fairly technology up on the game, not quite as good as some others, but all in trying to be substantially more efficient.
What's your operation like at Velva?
I run about 1,600 acres. My brother and his son are up there. My dad still farms some. The President Farmers Union's job is fully encompassing, so they take care of my land for me. I let my brother take my rented land because I thought it was a little unfair. So we're growing beans and corn and wheat and canola, sunflowers and barley is a primary. We'll do a little flax and oats once in a while. I don't get up there, so I do some of the marketing. I help them with some of the sign up. I try to do the stuff that I could do at a distance, and they help me out with the labor.
Let's talk about the Farm Bill. The next one is in 2018, which is getting close here. What was the current Farm Bill like, and what's the talk about the next one?
The current Farm Bill would have been almost perfect in some respect had they kept the price levels at a level that represented cost of production. If we didn't have to live within a budget dollars that were below what we could really write a strong Farm Bill with, it would have made a difference. I think that the simple solution for next time is to fix the one we have without a lot of changes. So some are saying tweaks to it. I think that's probably the only acceptable thing that will get passed. So we'll go in and we'll look at crop insurance and try to keep that as strong as it is. We'll go in and look at the ARC program, which is something that needs to not have that declining price. We'll try to get target prices up. We obviously would like to see loan rate prices up. That's probably not real acceptable. That's not been very acceptable for a long time, because that gives farmer a little bit more marketing tools where they can hold the grain off the market a little bit longer, hopefully, and get better price or something. So those are the things we're going to work on. Again, there's some regulatory stuff that is a little burdensome, but not terribly burdensome. And again, we have to give away some of that just to be able to keep the Farm Bill passed. So that's the approach we're going to take.
About a minute and a half left. What's your typical week or month like as a president of this group?
I'm on so many boards. A lot of insurance work, a lot of the farm program work. Typically, I have a staff meeting every other week or a team lead meeting. I meet with my insurance management team probably once a week. Travel to national meetings and to national board meetings. We do quarterly state board meetings and probably an in-between conference call. So a lot of prep, a lot of interviews, a lot of people calling with just questions and help. I try to return every call on my own. Not always can do that, but I do. And it's a series of being in places and getting the voice of the Farmers Union members out and constantly repeating what we stand for and what we're trying to accomplish.
If people want more information, where can they go? Who can they contact at the Farmers Union?
The best way is to go to the website. Then you can get all the information, you can get all the staff, but that's www.ndfu for North Dakota Farmers Union.org.
And there's offices throughout the state, right?
We have an office in Mandan where our legislative folks are, and then we have 4 what we call member relations specialists that are located around the state that travel the state. And then the rest of our staff is all available to go out. So we're out a lot. And we have a couple of people in Bismarck now. I know there's a couple of county meetings, and then there's county offices. They're not offices, but they're home offices and so forth.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Good
having you here.
You bet.
Mark Watney, President of the North Dakota Farmers Union. Stay tuned for more.
Singleton Street of Delano, Minnesota perform a mix of old-time Americana, bluegrass, Celtic, and gospel music. But the true backbone of their heartfelt performance is their fun-loving personalities and passion for sharing their message through music.
On one Sunday morning, just about 12 o'clock, the great ship Titanic, Lord, began to reel and rock. People on board heard to cry, saying, "My Lord, I'm bound to die." Wasn't it sad when that great boat went down? Awful sad when that great boat went down. Husbands and wives, little children lost their lives. Wasn't it sad when that great boat went down? Well, the builders, they kept building, declared what they would do. Gonna build a boat that the waters couldn't go through. God, with his mighty power in hand, showed the world he could not stand. Wasn't it sad when that great boat went down? Awful sad when that great boat went down. Husbands and wives, little children lost their lives. Wasn't it sad when that great boat went down? Well, the ship was leaving England, pulling from the shore. The rich lady declared that they would not ride with poor, so they put the poor below. They're the first ones had to go. Wasn't it sad when that great boat went down? Awful sad when that great boat went down. Husbands and wives, little children lost their lives. Wasn't it sad when that great boat went down? Awful sad when that great boat went down. Husbands and wives, little children lost their lives. Wasn't it sad when that great boat went down? Ain't no use in sitting crying. You'll be an angel by and by. Don't you rock on, don't you rock on, my daddy-o, your sweet rockin' daddy-o. When I get my day's work done, court the pretty girls one by one. Don't you rock on, don't you rock on, my daddy-o, your sweet rockin' daddy-o. When I get my new house done, sail away, baby, sail away. I give my old one to my son. Sail away, baby, sail away. Don't you rock on, don't you rock on, my daddy-o, your sweet rockin' daddy-o. Well, there ain't no use in sitting crying. Sail away, lady, sail away. You'll be an angel by and by. Sail away, lady, sail away. Don't you rock on. Don't you rock on, my daddy-o.
Well, that's all we have on Prairie Pulse for this week. But as always, thanks for watching.
Funding for Minnesota Legacy programs are provided by a grant from the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008, and by the members of Prairie Public.